So we heard today some interesting news coming from Home Farm and Genoa Football Club, who share the ground with Sampdoria there in that famous stadium where Ireland played in that incredible penalty shootout to against Romania to qualify for the out of the quarterfinals and or into the quarterfinals of the 1990 World Cup. But in my opinion, this is a great piece of news. To see clubs creating links with Europe, as well as, of course, links both locally. But because of Brexit, it has changed the landscape of player pathways and just the way that the career progression of players. And it's important that clubs and parents understand that these are the avenues in the changing landscape of grassroots football and aspiring professional players or aspiring players who want to be professional. The Home Farm move is important because Home Farm are one of the few clubs not to have already created partnerships with League of Ireland clubs. And there are League of Ireland clubs out there who have multiple partnerships. I really think it's important for clubs to realize that the players that they have on their books are significant assets. Many parents are unaware of the solidarity payments, the compensation payments that are in place by FIFA to compensate clubs for the training that they provide, the life and blood of the game, the professional game. So there's a whole kind of commercial aspect to everything that goes on in football. And obviously it's all, from the FAI perspective, it's all about getting as many top quality internationals playing, and getting our international team at the level that they can generate the exposure and the income for the grassroots game for Ireland as a whole. But for players who just want to play professional football and their parents, it's really important that they become aware of the mechanics of the game and the way that the clubs are incentivized to try and hold on to their players. And they're also, there are League of Ireland clubs and other clubs are incentivized to try and get players signed on. Now, generally speaking, European clubs won't even look at a player until they're 15, 16, and their scouts will begin to look at them. But it's very good business, not just in terms of player welfare, to be thinking about providing alternative options for your players at clubs. And clubs all over Europe are open for business, and they're open, with technology the way it's flooding the game. It's very easy for clubs in Ireland to keep professional clubs at the highest leagues around the world abreast of the development of their key assets. And I use the word assets because anyone who says otherwise is not telling the truth. Players are assets of the club, and should they make it professional, there's significant commercial rewards for those clubs. And this is one of the reasons why League of Ireland clubs are dipping into the grassroots bucket of developing players, and that's the business. That's what they're there to do. And they set up underage leagues in order to sign them up. But of course, that is one way to go forward. It's not necessarily it's definitely not the only way, but it's not necessarily the best way either. And probably one of the most important things for any player to develop is game time, is playing as many games as possible and getting as many games in, and if you have aspirations of playing professionally and you're only playing one game a week, you've got to be asking yourself if that's enough. Certainly, it isn't. If you want to be a professional footballer at under 11, under 12, under 13, if you have aspirations for that, great. If you're playing Gaelic, that means you're getting at least two physical games a week. But it's really important to be playing more. But more importantly, with regard to these relationships with foreign clubs, or European clubs. With technology, you're able to show them how your players are developing. If you're playing to a type of if you develop them in the way that they would be developing their own academy players back in their clubs, and a club can more easily adopt the strategies and methodologies and processes that the top category 1 academies are putting in place. So this is where clubs can really work to keep players longer, at playing at their club. And therefore, by keeping them longer, if you can keep a player from under 12 to under 16, you you significantly increase the amount of compensation payments that you can actually get from FIFA, and that I'm referring to the percentage of every international transfer after that. So there's a lot of advantages, and there's actually no disadvantages whatsoever for clubs to be talking to European clubs that are out there. European clubs need players. They need players. They need to be looking at players. They need to find an edge, and it's very hard to be going out there looking for things. And the other problem as well is that if everyone goes through the same funnel, okay, if you just imagine a funnel, right? So we have one funnel at the moment, which is the League of Ireland pathway, okay? And so everyone's trying to get into that funnel. And what does a funnel happen when there's so many players going in the funnel? What happens? Everyone gets stuck. Everyone gets stuck, right? So the key thing is not to have players in a funnel, in the sense that you want to make sure that they're flowing through the experience bucket, and that's important. So if clubs are out there thinking about different pathways and offering pathways to players, it's a key area for being able to attract talent into your club and being able to provide the type of environment for players that allows them to develop or maximize their potential. And that's a really, really important thing. And I think Home Farm have done a good job here in considering these things. And I must commend Pat Cleary on this and the people behind this project, because they're thinking outside the box. Certainly Genoa are obviously thinking outside the box. I had the pleasure of attending a couple of their meetings, and I thought they were very, very interesting people. But Genoa aren't the only show in town. There are clubs all over Europe, the States, and even Middle East that would jump at the chance to form partnerships with Irish clubs, giving them access or an input or shared resources. These clubs need players, and they need interesting, diverse sources of players, things that give them an edge. We always have to understand that even if we don't necessarily produce the most technically brilliant players, let's be honest about that, we do produce players. We do produce a certain type of player, and if we can learn how to just increase certain aspects of these players at an earlier age, at an earlier time, and keep them in our clubs longer, keep them playing more, and making sure that we are connected to clubs that aren't going to come and take them away from us too early. Then, again, it's just another option. It's just another way of thinking about things. And most importantly, it shows that a club is creating alternative options, not just one option. And I think any parent out there would have to seriously ask themselves, if you're putting education first, you need to be really thinking about, is it right for your child to be traveling across the country playing at under 14, playing around? So those are the type of questions that parents should be asked. I mean, from my perspective, I'm only talking about the kind of questions that a parent is asking themselves, and they're wondering, their child might be saying that they have to go this way and they have to go that way, but there are alternatives. There are different ways to skin a cat, and the most important thing is to enjoy your football, play as much of it as possible, have high quality training, and have as many game minutes as possible. And that means playing more than once a week, but certainly playing twice a week. And our star athletes need to be playing at least 2 games a week, in my opinion. Now, if they're playing Gaelic, that's great, and that's probably another thing as well. Closing off, and this is very much a debatable thing, but closing off Gaelic and the fight between GA players, and it usually happens at 16. But up until 16, there's a huge benefits to players playing both codes, and playing football and Gaelic football and soccer, and or even hurling. There's huge benefits to the fitness, to the athletic development of that player by playing these multi-sports and to a certain age. That's my opinion. And definitely if they're not playing more than 1 game a week, which is and that's a real kind of a real benefit to Irish players, that they often have the opportunity to play 2 games. But in saying this, well done to Home Farm and Genoa regarding this initiative. It'll be interesting to see, and it will be even more interesting to see more clubs forming such partnerships like this in the future. And as I said, technology can really help to maintain these relationships and make sure that there's real learnings between the two. So, you can imagine that a director of football at Genoa can just open their computer and be able to look at player reels and be able to keep in touch to see how they're playing, how the teams are playing, and that's what we have now. That technology now is available, and clubs out there are really will link in to any club that is forward thinking and can create these type of technology connections. That basically you're getting a professional club to give you their resources in exchange for some kind of access to players over the long term, and everybody wins. So definitely well done, Home Farm, and well done to Genoa. And Ireland is definitely open for business, I think.